Imagine a civilization captivated by life after death. For the ancient Egyptians, death was a transition to another world. Their belief shaped every aspect of their lives. Elaborate funerary practices reflected their faith. Join us as we explore their journey to conquer death. Our journey begins in the dusty prehistory of Egypt, long before the rise of pharaohs and pyramids. Even in these early times, during the pre-dynastic period, Egyptians demonstrated a deep-rooted belief in the afterlife. Their vision of the afterlife was a journey fraught with perils, where the deceased needed all the help they could get. The dry desert sands naturally preserved corpses, offering early Egyptians a glimpse into the possibility of preserving the body after death. These naturally mummified bodies likely sparked the idea of artificial mummification, a practice that would become central to their funerary rituals. In these early burials, bodies were often placed in simple pits in the fetal position, surrounded by basic provisions for the afterlife. Pottery vessels for food and drink, tools and weapons. These early graves offer a glimpse into the Egyptians' burgeoning belief in a physical afterlife, where the deceased would need sustenance and possessions. As Egyptian society evolved, so did their tombs. Over time, simple pits gave way to more elaborate burial structures, reflecting the growing importance of honoring the dead and ensuring their well-being in the afterlife. The advent of the early dynastic period saw the emergence of mastabas, rectangular structures with flat roofs and underground burial chambers. Mastabas were often adorned with intricate carvings and paintings depicting scenes from the deceased's life, further emphasizing the importance of preserving their identity in the afterlife. The culmination of this architectural evolution was the pyramid, a symbol of Egyptian ingenuity and their unwavering belief in the afterlife. These colossal structures, starting with the stepped Pyramid of Joseph, were designed to be monumental beacons guiding the deceased's soul towards the heavens. The evolution of tomb architecture reflects the Egyptians' evolving understanding of the afterlife and their commitment to providing their dead with the most auspicious passage to the next world. The pharaoh, considered a divine intermediary between the gods and humanity, held a unique position in Egyptian society. Their death and subsequent journey to the afterlife were matters of cosmic significance. Unsurprisingly, royal burials were grand affairs, showcasing the pinnacle of Egyptian funerary practices. Pyramids, the ultimate symbol of royal power, served as elaborate tombs for the pharaohs. These monumental structures were filled with treasures and provisions intended to accompany the pharaoh into eternity. Moreover, royal tombs witnessed the emergence of funerary texts, such as the pyramid texts and later the coffin texts, inscribed on the walls and sarcophagi. These texts contained spells, hymns, and instructions to guide the deceased king through the perils of the underworld and ensure his successful resurrection in the afterlife. The prominence of funerary texts underscores the Egyptians' belief in the power of magic and its ability to influence the journey after death. Spells and amulets safeguarding the deceased for the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a perilous journey filled with obstacles and malevolent beings. To protect the deceased from these dangers, they employed a potent combination of magic spells and amulets. Spells written on papyrus scrolls or inscribed on tomb walls were believed to have magical powers, capable of warding off evil spirits, guiding the deceased through the underworld and ensuring their successful resurrection. These spells, often included in funerary texts like the Book of the Dead, addressed every aspect of the afterlife journey, from navigating treacherous landscapes to facing divine judgment. Amulets, small objects worn by the living and the dead, were also believed to possess protective powers. Crafted from a variety of materials, including faience, stone and metal, amulets were often shaped after deities or symbolic figures like the Eye of Horus or the scarab beetle. Each amulet held specific meaning and provided protection against specific dangers. Buried with treasures, grave goods and social status in death. The ancient Egyptians believed in continuing their lives in the afterlife, albeit in a transformed state. Their tombs were furnished with a vast array of grave goods, reflecting their earthly status and providing them with the necessities and luxuries they enjoyed in life. These objects offered a fascinating glimpse into the social stratification of ancient Egyptian society. Royal tombs were treasure troves, filled with gold, silver, precious stones, elaborate furniture, chariots, and even miniature models of servants to serve the deceased pharaoh in the afterlife. Elite tombs, while less opulent, still contained a wealth of objects, including jewellery, fine linens, cosmetics, and weapons, reflecting their privileged status in life. Commoners, on the other hand, were buried with simpler grave goods such as pottery, tools, and amulets, indicative of their more modest lifestyles. The variety and richness of grave goods illustrate the Egyptians' belief in maintaining social distinctions even in death. Beyond the pharaoh, funerary practices for everyone. While royal burials were undeniably grand, funerary practices in ancient Egypt were not limited to the elite. People from all walks of life, regardless of their social standing, sought to secure a favorable afterlife. Of course, the scale and opulence varied significantly between social classes, reflecting their economic means and status in life. Commoners, while lacking the resources for elaborate tombs, still received proper burials, demonstrating the Egyptians' universal belief in the importance of securing a good afterlife. They were often buried in simpler graves, sometimes in communal cemeteries. Their bodies might not have undergone the elaborate mummification process reserved for the elite, but they were still prepared for burial with care. The inclusion of everyday objects and amulets in their graves highlights their desire for a comfortable and protected afterlife, demonstrating that the hope for immortality transcended social boundaries in ancient Egypt. Shifting sands of time. Changes in the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom marked significant changes in political landscapes and religious ideologies. Core beliefs in the afterlife remained, but notable changes emerged. Focus shifted from grand pyramids to smaller rock-cut tombs. Private coffin texts made funerary spells more accessible. The Middle Kingdom shows that beliefs and practices evolved with the times. Foreign winds. External influences on Egyptian burials. Throughout their long history, the ancient Egyptians interacted with various cultures, resulting in the exchange of ideas and practices, including those related to death and burial. The influx of foreign influences during certain periods led to subtle shifts in Egyptian funerary customs. For instance, the Hyksos, a foreign dynasty that ruled parts of Egypt during the Second Intermediate Period, introduced new burial customs, such as burying their kings in fortified cities rather than traditional pyramids. While these foreign practices were initially distinct from traditional Egyptian customs, over time some elements were assimilated and incorporated into the Egyptian repertoire. This fusion of foreign and indigenous practices is evident in the art and architecture of later periods, highlighting the Egyptians' ability to adapt and integrate external influences without abandoning their core beliefs. The integration of foreign elements into Egyptian funerary practices illustrates the dynamic nature of culture and its ability to evolve through contact and exchange. The passing of an era, the decline of traditional practices. As with all civilizations, ancient Egypt experienced periods of decline and transformation. The late period saw a gradual decline in the traditional elaborate funerary practices that had defined earlier eras. The political instability and economic decline of this period likely contributed to the simplification of burial customs. Tombs became smaller and less lavishly decorated, and the intricate mummification process became less common. However, even in decline, the core beliefs in the afterlife and the importance of proper burial persisted. The Egyptians continued to mummify their dead, albeit with less complexity, and furnished their tombs with offerings, demonstrating the enduring power of their beliefs. The decline of traditional funerary practices in later periods highlights the cyclical nature of civilizations and the inevitable evolution of cultural practices, even those deeply rooted in religious beliefs.